Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize your neighborhood. Now pray for the soul of this explorer. It's time for 31 Days of Horror. Oh, hello! Terence McGuana here, and welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. And tonight we're going to look at the 1986 film, Fright Night. Charlie Brewster is a typical teenage horror geek who, along with his girlfriend Amy, tune into a late night horror show called Fright Night, hosted by former horror movie actor Peter Vincent. One night Charlie discovers his next door neighbour is a bloodthirsty vampire. When no one believes Charlie, he turns to his horror idol Peter Vincent to stop the vampire's killing spree. My first interaction with Fright Night was when I was in primary school, right? And I must have been about 6 or 7 at the time, and I was just walking to school going past the video store in Scotstoun, right, in Glasgow, and they had this massive poster on the window of the video store, Carvel and Akari. That was the name of the video store. It was a small chain that was all through Glasgow at the time, and they had this giant poster for Fright Night, and it was just, to me, it just captured my imagination. Just the fangs on this vampire was just captivating, and I couldn't wait to see what this film was about. Eventually, when I managed to get a hold of a video copy of the movie, I just instantly fell in love with this film. I must have been about 6 or 7 at the time. It just has a really excellent blend of comedy and horror all the way through it. The horror scenes, I wouldn't say, even as a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, I mean, it was 86 when it came out in video, or 87. It's definitely 86. It was definitely 86 that I saw it. And none of it really scared me, right? As much as I love this film, I don't find it scary one bit. And I never did when I was a child either, but I was really taken away with the whole premise of a vampire living next door to you. That idea just, that just sparked my imagination, and I think the movie really played it out really well. I really love the character of Charlie Brewster, and I totally identify with him being a horror geek and loving all these old movies, and even like the idea that his next door neighbour is a vampire and no one believes him. It makes it more believable, the fact that he is obsessed with horror films. I've had it on videotape for so many years that the tape pretty much got worn out. Absolutely got worn out, the amount of times that this movie got played. And more so because on the RCA Columbia release of this film in the UK, they had a mixture of sort of music videos at the very beginning, Whitney Houston and Mr. Mister, and it's weird, whenever I hear some of these songs by Whitney Houston and Mr. Mister, I associate them with Fright Night, even though they're not in the movie, but they were on that tape right at the very beginning. Is it love we're after? And the White Nights trailer. One of these days I'm going to sit in front of this camera and talk about how much I love White Nights. Mikhail Baryshnikov, Gregory Hines getting their boogie on. What a brilliant film. That sounded completely wrong, but I will explain why it's not later. But yeah, Fright Night is a terrific film. I think the standout performance for me is Chris Sarandon, all the way. Chris Sarandon is a brilliant actor, and it's a shame that you don't see enough of him these days. You don't see enough Chris Sarandon. He had so much charisma in this part as Jerry Dandridge, and also the vampire. I didn't mention his name was Jerry Dandridge at the beginning, but if you've seen Fright Night, you all know, right? And he's absolutely tremendous in this film. Second to him, I would say Roddy McDowall was Peter Vincent. It was such a nice touch to have this character with this, Peter Cushing, Vincent Price sort of name smashed together, and he really plays it really well. I love when they do these little cutaways to the old films where he's pounding a stake into the vampire's heart and all the blood squirting on his face. That is brilliant. It really does look like a Hammer horror movie that they're watching. And but yeah, Charlie Brewster, what's the actor's name that played Charlie Brewster again? William Ragsdale. What happened to William Ragsdale? That's what I hate about watching these old movies. I just spend the whole time going, what happened to him? What happened to her? And my partner is the exact same. She's like, oh him, oh her. What happened to him? What happened to her? And that happens just throughout any old movie we ever watch. We spend most of the time going onto Wikipedia going, oh yeah, they're dead now. Oh, they're in prison now. And you know, we totally lose track of the film we're watching because we spend most of the time trying to find out what happened to these actors. I know it's not The Godfather, it's not Chinatown, right? But that's the thing. For what it is, for what Fright Night is an 80s vampire romp, is you can't get any better, really. Maybe The Lost Boys, right? Maybe, I don't know if it's a toss-up between, for 80s vampire romps, The Lost Boys, Fright Night. That's a difficult one for me. I remember being disappointed at the time, weirdly, because of the poster. I was so in love with that poster, and I was like, where's this woman with the giant smile? You see this woman with the giant smile on the poster, and when she finally shows up, it's Amanda Bearse. When she gets sort of half turned into a vampire, she gets this big giant grin face thing, and that's the moment. And I was so disappointed with that. I thought this was the main character. I thought this was our Freddy Krueger of the film. Our Freddy Krueger of the film was this horrible vampire with the giant teeth, and no, that didn't happen, which is kind of strange. I remember when the first part to the It movie came out in 2017, It, and when they had that sequence where Pennywise came out of the projector and he had this big giant row of teeth. That made me think of that Fright Night poster. I wonder if the people that made It Chapter 1 were inspired by that amazing poster. I'd like to bet on that. Now, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscription button. I'll be back tomorrow with more horror classics. And peace, love, rock and roll. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.